I would like to ask a question before starting up. Do you see yourself living up to the age of 85 years of age? Well, there is good news, is because life expectancy is on an increase. So, which means that the prevalence of dementia will also increase. That is, by 2050, actually, dementia cases will get tripled. That is roughly around 150 million. But what really is dementia? So, dementia is an overall term for different disorders. It can be explained in three basic terms. So, cognitive impairment, behavioral and personality changes, and basically activities of daily living get impaired. So, all of these changes actually happen 20 years before a person actually gets diagnosed with dementia. So, and during this age, so this age would be around 45 to 60 years of age during midlife. And during this age, people go through a lot of changes. They have a lot of responsibilities as well. And some of these changes can actually be warning signs of dementia or even risk factors. But people tend to overlook them. Now, they tend to overlook them because they might be not aware about cognitive change or dementia. There is a stigma around aging as well. People think that, oh, these changes are normal part of aging, and dementia is, like it's inevitable. It's an inevitable part of aging. Therefore, there is reduced preventive care as well. Now, this all leads to increased, basically, likelihood of cognitive impairment, and there are high incident rates of dementia further. So, I found this opportunity and created Tree of Life. Now, Tree of Life is a board game, a cooperative board game, to designed to initiate conversations about cognitive change and cognitive decline, and therefore raise awareness about it. Now, how does it raise awareness? Basically, during the game, people are able to relate to their personal experiences. So, this might be something they might observe in themselves or in others as well. So, it becomes a tool for preventive care. And at the end, it can be played by anyone above the age of 14 years. Therefore, it improves social connection. As I said, it can be played above the age of 14 years. So, for any old aged person, it improves their socialization. So, for my grandmother, it helped her to actually, you know, find it as a recreational activity. And she was able to, reflect some of the cognitive changes which were in the game. Now, for someone like my father who is in his midlife, he felt empowered to actually take control of his cognitive health by after having those conversations about some of the changes that he or my mother were going through. Also, a person like me who was a young adult, they feel engaged to know about cognitive domains, as it's a game, so it's easy to remember at the end of the day. It's fun to play it. And for children, it's education. It's they get to know about different terms of health as well. Now, I'd like to talk about the theme of the game. So, the theme of the game is based around a mystic forest, and Tree of Life is at the center of it. So, but over time, leeches start to affect the forest, and the Tree of Life then basically summons guardians. Now, these guardians are basically players, and all they have to do is basically clear the forest from these leeches, starting from the center and reaching to the end. And all of these guardians are basically inspired from the main stakeholders of my study, which were doctors, family members, caretakers, and the patients as well. Now, during the game, you actually defeat the leech cards by playing strength cards. Now, leech cards depict risk factors of dementia or the warning signs as well, while strength cards depict physical abilities or cognitive abilities such as reaction speed. Now, these strength cards and leech cards are basically categorized under Tree of Life attributes. So there are six of them, which are again inspired from the 5 cognitive domains: attention, language, memory, planning and decision making, and vision and perception. All of them are tested or kept active while playing the board game. Now, how does Tree of Life actually optimize health span? Now, people who are actually aware about their cognitive health and cognitive change show slower rate of cognitive decline by 42%, as well as board games actually increase family support, or happiness by 22%. As well as, especially amongst the elderly, it helps to reduce loneliness. And this game was tested with a group of members, and 70% were actually able to connect the game with their personal experiences. So, something they might have observed in themselves or in someone else. And producing Tree of Life at scale. Now, it can be manufactured under $8, and it can be distributed via board game service, or it can be distributed via service that I can create. So these can be pseudo services to improve health span. It can be an online knowledge center about cognitive health or cognitive decline. It can be an advanced care planning. So this advanced care planning can be about tracking your cognitive health, or and how can I maintain it as well. And at the end of life workshops can also be used to promote the game. So Tree of Life is not only a board game to raise awareness about cognitive change and cognitive health, but it also paves the way to actually look aging in a positive way. Look at as healthy aging by bringing in communities and generations together. So thank you.
So I loved how you looked at the different lifespan timing, but in terms of a game and raising awareness, which age groups is this appropriate for? It looks like maybe you have to be at a certain level of accomplishment. You have to be able to read and be able to participate. So this isn't for the really young. Is that correct?
So it can be played by anyone at the end of the day, but for people, especially in their midlife or even who are elderly, or so that is very important for them, is because they get to know about these changes that they might be going through, and then it offers them like a motivation to actually take control and do some activities to better themselves in that way.
So the target audience is actually a mid-aged adult to older. Is that what you were thinking? Not for a child, for example.
So it can be, so at the end, like it's a board game, so the target audience is wide enough to be played with grandparents as well as grandchildren. But at the end, people who starting from the young adults to the old age, they benefit from it is because they get to know about cognitive health from a younger age. So by raising awareness is the first step to actually maintaining your cognitive health.
So you think that a younger adult or a teen would not be interested in this because it doesn't seem relevant to what they're concerned about? Is that correct?
No, it's not that I'm saying that. I'm saying that, like the board game, initially I designed it for people in their midlife, but I realized that since it's a board game and it's not something that only people in their midlife will play. It's something that should improve social connection. Like there should be some interaction between all members of my family as well. So then it sort of expanded to for age range.
What is the level of like variability? Like if you play this game once, do you kind of draw most of the lessons, or does it take playing it many, many times to kind of gather the education from it that you aspire?
So, as I mentioned, there are like 5 cognitive domains, right? So, let's say if I play it for the first time, I might understand just about one part of that cognitive change that I might be going through. While if I play it for the second time, I might, oh, this I observed in my friend. So, in that way, that is variable. Now, regarding the design, so there are, as I mentioned, there are cards which can be again changed or basically sort of manipulated in a way so that it feels new to it as well. After studies, then you can see, oh, this cognitive domain is not being focused upon with people, so I can then have some cards related to that. If you see the board game itself, like the board, you can see there are discs around, which can be again changed to change the gameplay of the game. So like there can be expansive packs that can be introduced later.
Hi. Could you please explain how, in your mind, this game is fun?
So it's a cooperative board game, right? And it sort of is a nerdy game that you start out with. You know, you have cards, and since it's a cooperative board game, each guardian has a special ability. So they interact with each other, they strategize together to actually how can we reach to the end of the board and defeat all of these leeches that you might come across. And since it's a cooperative board game, not all leeches are easy to defeat, so you need help from each other in that way.
Thank you. Sorry if you said this already in the first minute, which I missed. How much of a board gamer are you yourself? How much did you play board games before this? I'm asking this in part because recently I had a chance to play at least one other board game where it came about from someone who's not a board game designer and wanted it to help for learning. And thinking through this question, actually, I want to also ask, if this game were to be picked up, say, by enthusiasts also, are you thinking that maybe it increases the amount of thinking and awareness around society about this subject?
Yeah, I think it does. So if you take so I've played a lot of board games before. I like playing video games as well. But so I got to know about Pandemic, if you've heard of it. It's a board game which is widely popular and was sort of ahead of its time. But people got to know about what it means to be in a pandemic while playing that game. It's again a cooperative board game. So regarding the second question, yeah, it helps if it actually gets popular within people who are just enthusiasts of playing board games. Regarding the first question, yeah, I played a lot of games and board games before. Something that I really like is Carcassonne. So that's another board game which I love to play. Yep.